This is the 18 Strong Podcast with Jeff Pellizzaro, episode number 30.
Welcome to the 18 Strong Podcast, where you get direct access to the world's greatest experts on training harder, practicing smarter, and playing better golf. Now, here's your host, Jeff Pellizzaro.
Hey, welcome to the show, and thank you guys for joining the 18 Strong Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Pellizzaro, and I have to say that I'm extremely excited for today's guest and episode. We've got Don Saladino from up at Drive 495 in New York, and today Don brings the strong part back into the 18 Strong Podcast. We've done a lot of different episodes recently with, talking about the mental game and talking about practice and the golf portion, but today we're going to get back to the roots of the 18 Strong Podcast, which is fitness, health, power, speed, that type of stuff. And Don's got an incredible facility up there in New York, and they work with a lot of golfers, professional athletes, celebrities, business persons, all different kind of realms, all different kinds of people under one roof. But what I love is that this facility was really started with the golfer in mind, and so it's a perfect tie-in to what we have going on here at 18 Strong. And what I really enjoyed learning more about from Don was that their facility and their mantra of training is so much geared towards the performance side, not necessarily specifically golf-related type stuff, but it's all about performance, and every person needs to perform to some extent in their sport or their daily life or their profession, which we learn a little bit about the celebrities that he works with and how they have to perform in that whole realm. So in today's episode, we're going to talk about several things. We talk a lot about two concepts of function and power, and how basically if you don't have function, your body's not functioning properly, you're not able to do certain things, you really shouldn't be allowed to train for power yet. You got to focus on fixing some of those things, getting certain things moving right before you can start throwing medicine balls and really working on the speed and power part of your golf game or whatever sport it is. We talk about how golf-specific exercises can actually make you slower and slow down your swing speed, which obviously is very detrimental to your game and isn't something that you want to do. And then we discuss how you can really start to create some real power in your own workouts and what's the right way to do that and what's the wrong way to do that. And then speaking of power and speed, I've got a gift for you guys, which is over at 18strong.com, and it's my book, 5 Yards in Less Than 5 Minutes. It's just a quick downloadable ebook, and it's a couple drills that I use with a lot of my different golfers, and I've literally seen an increase of over 10 miles per hour in a swing speed within just a simple 5-minute session of doing some of these drills. So I put this together for all of you guys. It's totally free. You go to the website, go to 18strong.com/5yardsbook. That'll take you straight there. Just enter your email address and you'll get the link to download the book. Or you can go straight to 18strong.com. You'll see the little icon on the side that says get your free book. Just put your email address in and I'll send it right over to you. And that will also enter you into the community of 18 Strong and the 18 Strong podcast, where I'll send you some inside information that you don't get on the website, you don't get on the podcast, just stuff that goes straight to those on the email list there. So I'm giving you guys some of the secret sauce in that ebook on how to speed up your game. So although I would love for you to share it with the world, you probably won't want to share some of those tips with your buddies. But thank you guys for coming on the show and listening, and enjoy this episode with Don Saladino. Hey, Don, welcome to the 18 Strong Podcast.
Hey, Jeff, thanks for having me on. Really excited.
You bet. So for those listeners out there that listened to the podcast a couple weeks ago with Justin Tupper, you'll recognize Don's name as Justin's trainer, and we got to talk about a lot of the different things that you guys are doing up there at Drive 495, and so we're going to elaborate on a lot of that as we get into it here, Don. But if you could, give the listeners a little background about the story of Drive 495 and how it all came about.
All right, cool. Well, I've been again, thanks for having me on, and Justin Tupper is a pretty tough act to follow, man. He's been turned into one of my closest friends, but I mean, talk about someone making a mark in the industry right now. If you haven't heard of him, you're going to hear some big things out of that name. So stay tuned. But so getting into Drive 495, my brother and I started Drive about 9 years ago, and I was working previously in the city, training one-on-one clients for I'd say about the past about 6 years before that. So we're looking at 15 years I've been in the business already. My brother went down to Florida to join some of the mini tours. He was a professional golfer, gave a quick run at it. I think he played on the Hooters tour and the Nike tour, if I'm quoting that correctly. And at the time, he was a little scrawny, 5'11", 155, 160 pound guy that had some decent length off the tee. And at the time, I think we were kind of ahead of everyone, and we were saying to ourselves, you know what, we can get this kid. Joey and I were saying, well, we can get him stronger without ruining his golf swing. So I think we kind of went on a little bit of a quest until we opened Drive. I want to say 5-6 years after I started training in the city, and in that time we got him a hell of a lot stronger. We got his swing a hell of a lot faster, and we increased flexibility. And I honestly believe we probably put about 30 to 35 yards on his tee ball.
Wow.
So suddenly people started kind of lifting an eyelid to it. And it was about the time, a little after Tiger Woods really made his mark on tour. I mean, we're looking at, actually it was probably 10 years after, but it was still at a time, when Tiger was making his mark, 1995, 96, whatever those years were, we had that belief. Here's a guy who came on tour who was skinny and started putting on some good size, and his game just got better and better. So we almost applied a lot of the same stuff to my brother, and we turned around at a certain point, I want to say in about 2002, and we said, wow, I think this was about when we went out to TPI. And we said, we can do this in the city. We can bring it to the table, a very high-end program that, people living in the city could come down to, hit golf balls, work on their fitness, get stronger. And we just went out and got funding. We got a couple clients, some really close friends of ours came aboard, and we did a nice little raise, and they pretty much threw us in the water. And we had to learn to swim. And it was something where we knew the content, but I think the business aspect of it, we really had to learn. We're still learning. It's been 9 years later.
Absolutely.
And, it's been history ever since. I mean, every year, our program gets better. It changes. We add more staff. Business continues to increase. New, avenues kind of get created from Drive. I mean, it's all because of Drive. We're getting so many business opportunities thrown on our lap, I want to say weekly, literally. And now it's become where we opened up one club, just getting involved in different business ventures. And, we had an app company called, Driven, that we produced 4 apps. 3 of them were on professional athletes, and that went to the App Store, and 2 of them were number 1 in the App Store. And so we, and then we ended up selling that because we did all we could with it. So there's been a lot of opportunity. Things start going in a certain direction, and you feel like you pivot and you go in another direction. But I think that's really what's been exciting about it.
Wow, I didn't realize that it was all kind of initially started with kind of golf fitness in mind. I knew that, you guys have this amazing facility up there just on the videos that I've seen and pictures that I've seen, but I didn't realize that it kind of started with golf as the front of the focus. That's pretty cool.
It's exactly where it started, and we still have golf. I mean, we have 3 simulators indoors. We have about 15 golf pros that circulate in and out of here throughout the year. We just hosted an event for the Met PGA where we had about 35 local golf instructors, Met PGA instructors come in, and we did a 2-hour seminar on nutrition, on-course nutrition. We spoke a little bit about training. So yeah, I mean, we've got a really nice specialty on golf here. But I think in a nutshell, the bulk of our business, the majority of our business is taking individuals and turning them into better athletes. And if they're injured, we get them in with our PT. And if our PT can't do it, we have a team we work with over at Hospital Special Surgery. So it really is a team approach. From the moment you come in, you're working with the strength coach. If you're a golfer, the golf pro's involved. The PT can get involved if needed. Nutrition, the whole 9. So it really is, it's not one of these spots where you're going to come in and get lost in the masses. It really is a training facility. It's an elite training facility. That's
pretty cool. It seems like it speaks so much to that whole model of having your team surrounding the athlete or just the individual that's coming in, the medical, the golf pro, could be, I'm sure you guys deal with some sports psychologists or mental game people and stuff like that, and bringing all of that onto the table.
Absolutely. I got to thank Greg Rose for that over at TPI. I don't thank him enough. He stepped foot in this club when it was a concrete box. And he said, listen, take my advice. Do not try and be the jack of all trades. I just got off the phone with a young instructor the other day, and he's like, well, I want to teach golf and fitness. I'm like, you can't. He's like, well, of course I can. I'm like, no, you can't. I'm like, no, you can't. You're going to devalue your product. You're going to become the jack of all trades, and you need to decide, do you want to be golf or you want to be fitness? He's like, no, I want to be the fitness portion. I said, all right, well, then go join hands with a golf instructor, and you guys get on the same page. It adds value to what your clients are doing. And the team approach, in my opinion, is the only way to go. I think Dave Phillips and Greg Rose will both admit that Greg probably knows the golf swing better than mostly anybody on the planet, and Greg's still not teaching the golf swing. Right. He knows his place. He knows what he's doing. So.
Right. And talking about wearing different hats, it was kind of funny before we got on the air here. We were talking about how you've worked with some celebrities and stuff like that, and I know the audience wants to hear about some of that. And you've in times been dubbed like the celebrity trainer, but you were saying that's not necessarily what builds your business. The golf stuff and that type of stuff, working with the athletes, is really what builds your business. But I've got to take a little detour here,
sure,
and give the audience a little bit of a sneak peek of some of the stuff that you've done. So give us an idea first how you kind of got involved working with some celebrities like Hugh Jackman, who you said you worked with years ago, and some of the Marvel Comics characters and stuff like that.
I don't mind being dubbed as a celebrity trainer. I mean, it's just a title. It's so far from what I'm actually doing. I feel like I accept it. It brings me business, but it kind of almost, I don't want to say the word devalues, but it just puts me in a category that, I don't know. I think it's cute. I think people want to call me that. It's fine. They can call me that. But yeah, he was one of my first, and he was someone, a buddy of mine was brought him into my club, and he had to, his name was Rico Wesley, he ended up having triplets, and he just couldn't get down here anymore, and he asked me to pick up here, and I said, sure. I saw him in a few movies. He was really good. Him and I hit it off, and I trained him for when, I forgot what Wolverine it was, but around the time when the movie Australia came out, I trained him for that. So we trained him for about a year, roughly a year, probably 10 months. And, it was so much fun for me because it opened my eyes to the fact that a lot of these guys train like athletes. I mean, they're coming into this role, and where early on I would have thought that maybe they would have been a little soft because, they're actors. It was a misconception. It was me being naive. And he came in and he worked harder than anyone I've seen, and everything down to his nutrition, his nap schedule, yada yada yada. So we really kept it real professional with him. He became a friend, and I think when he went off to Australia, he ended up moving and kind of went one way and I went the other. He became a great source for me. I mean, I think I got Scarlett Johansson because of him, and then Scarlett at the time was married to Ryan Reynolds, and she preferred Ryan Reynolds, and then Billy Crudup came in and Liev Schreiber came in, and it started escalating, to the point where, Sebastian Stan from The Winter Soldier just left here, and Ryan Gosling, and all these, they all talk. And I think the thing I did really well was, I made it about the program, I made it about them. And I think the mistake that most people make out there is when they get a celebrity, they get so excited that it can be such, could put them on such a platform that they think more about what it can do for their career rather than, improving what they're coming to you to be improved with. And I've never lost track of that. In the 9 years I've been working with celebs, I when they come in at the end of the day, they're to be treated like a normal human being, coming to you, paying you hard-earned money, but we have a goal in mind. So what I like about working with them is that they train like they're like an athlete training for their field. And sometimes, I got to be honest, they're even a little more intense about it because they've got to look a certain way. A screen, and this vanity, this stuff kicking in because they have to look the part. They've got to go on screen and they got to look a certain way. And I got to be honest. I mean, in the 9 years that I've worked with these guys, men and women, I don't know if I've ever had a session where, and I've probably worked with between 30 and 40 recognizable names, at least, maybe 50. I can't recall a session where they didn't come in here and they didn't bust their ass. And to me, that was fun. That's been the best part about it.
Well, I think that kind of speaks to, what we deal with on a daily basis. And the people that are the best at whatever they do, they're driven. They know that they have to put the time in, they got to put the effort in. So just like any of the golfers that you work with, just like any of the businessmen that you work with, whatever their goal is at the end of the day, they put that time in. And so when people like this realize, hey, I'm trying to get here, this is the work that I got to put in. That's why, there's how many millions of actors out there that may not have the same work ethic and drive, and maybe that's why these people have risen to the top, just like the golfers that you work with and the guys we see on tour and the low handicap amateurs that we see. They're just putting in more work.
Yeah, they all have that. One thing I've noticed about everyone I've worked with at that premier level, call it what you want, whether they're on PGA Tour or the NHL or the MLB or if they're on the big screen, they all have that X factor. They all have that kind of, there's something they're wired a little bit differently, and it's all different from individual to individual, but they have that X factor where you're like, okay, I met with an individual yesterday, I can't mention his name, but when I left there, I'm like, I get it now. Because you always wonder, how did they become successful? Was it luck? Yeah, I think a little bit of it has to do with being at the right place at the right time or being noticed, but you got to capitalize on that. And once you're through the door, I don't care if it was luck or not. If you're not doing a good job, you're not going to be around long. I don't know what profession keeps you in if you're just kind of mediocre. I mean, you've got to be pretty exceptional to be performing at any of those high levels. So, again, it's been a big learning curve for me. It's been really, really interesting. It's been a lot of fun. It really has been a lot of fun.
That's very cool. When we had Justin on a couple weeks ago, we talked about some of the stuff that he does in his workouts, and it sounds like you guys work out together a little bit. And he was saying how what you guys do up there, he doesn't necessarily consider it "quote unquote" golf specific, which is something that I love to hear because I think golfers are athletes. Golfers need to move just like every other human being on the planet. So, can you kind of go into a little bit of that mentality of what you guys do up there? And I know Charlie talks about this stuff a lot, Charlie Weingroff, who you work with. Yeah. But if you could kind of talk about the idea of, not necessarily every golfer needing a quote-unquote golf-specific program.
Right. Well, you mentioned Charlie. I mean, right there, that's the smartest. If you ask me one of the smartest guys I know in the business, that's him. So if you haven't checked him out, check out Charlie Weingroff. I mean, brilliant. You know what? Golf-specific training is something we've been kind of fighting against for the last 8-9 years. I think what happens is you've got a handful of golfers and you have a handful of golf fitness instructors that they've realized that their niche is golf-specific training, quote unquote. And I think Charlie created a line called Golfish. So the exercises they make, we always say it looks golfish. So, and I'm not saying any of these movements are bad, but everything that goes in the golf posture while you're exercising, it's, having the ability to take a movement and put that into a golf. You look at it, you say to yourself, that looks like golf. That looks golfish. And you know what? It's not what's best for these individuals. It's not what's best for these people. What's best for golfers is to turn around, is to look at how they're moving, making this as simple as possible. Look at how the individual is moving, find out how you can correct specific imbalances in the body, and turn them into a great athlete. Get them moving better, get them moving stronger, get them moving faster. So if we put muscle on a golfer, whether a man or a woman, and, if, they put on a little muscularity and they're stronger and more powerful, but they're moving better, how's that a bad thing?
Right.
So we years ago, got away from, I remember these golf grips coming out, that these pulley systems that you hook up to the cable machines, and you just found out that it actually works against you. It actually gets you slower. So we bring people in here and we bring golfers in here and we train them like athletes. And we're very comfortable with ourselves and our business to turn around and to say that, because it should only help us if we turn around and we say golf-specific training. Yes, it is golf-specific because we're training you to be a better athlete so you become a better golfer, so you can get into a better position in your golf swing. But that exercise for that individual that day might be a deadlift, might be a kettlebell deadlift. It might be a box squat. These exercises don't look like golf exercises, but we're I don't want to say that we're prescribing, but we're assigning movements to that individual that's going to help make them stronger and create a better athlete, a better moving athlete for the golf course. In a nutshell, that's what Charlie and I believe in, and that's what Justin's discussing. And no, Justin's in here. Guess what? Justin, when he came in here, couldn't get in a position to deadlift. We worked on his mobility to now where he can get into position to deadlift or get into position to squat. That took us, it took us some time. But now he can get into those positions, and now it's showing up in his golf swing. I mean, he literally kind of moved to McLean's school, and he got on the track, recently worked with Jim, and I think he claimed that he put, just an incredible amount of ball and swing speed.
Yeah, I think he actually talked about the actual numbers when he was on a couple weeks ago. I
want to say he went from like a 2. Don't quote me on it, but I want to say he went from swinging at like anywhere from 208 to 210. Or he was getting clocked at like, I'm sorry, 108 to 110. Jesus, could you imagine that? 108 to 108. You're like, oh my God.
You kind of cut out there for a second. I'm like, did he just say 208?
No. 108. I think he was swinging the club at his driver from about between 108 to 110. I think he was getting up around 118.
I think you're exactly right. It was somewhere around 118. Maybe even said he might have topped at 120 on one or something like that.
I think he did, and I think he got after it. And I'm like, Tup, you haven't even been swinging regularly. Your timing isn't even there yet. It is possible to do this.
Yeah.
But I think the problem is out there is when a golf fitness trainer gets a hold of a golfer, they're so concerned with retaining that client with things that look, as I just explained, golfish. And I think by doing these movements, which are the incorrect movements, you're that person to not excel the way that they potentially could. And because they have them doing the wrong stuff, because they want to establish that connection. And one of the bigger names in the golf industry, I think, said that to Charlie recently. Well, I'm not mentioning his name, but I got to make a connection with the client, so it's got to look a little golfish. And we looked at it, we're like, no, you make a connection with the client by good coaching, not by turning around and be like, oh, well, we've got to throw some movements in that look golfish, so we're going to throw that in, and that's absurd. Like, this is about good coaching. This is about good, solid program design, and this is about sticking to your guns. And yeah, you've got to give the individual a little bit of what they want. I agree with it. If they want to come, they don't want to just come in and do mobility work. And no, if someone comes in and they cannot move, but they're coming in for a sweat, then you know what? 90% or 80% of the workout that I'm assigning them might be of what I want, but then the last, 10 to 20% might be a little bit of a metabolic circuit of specific movements that are safe, that are sound, that are not going to cause their progress to go in the reverse direction, and they're going to leave there feeling a little worked. Because, at the end of the day, training still has to be fun. But go in there and do what you need to do with them. And like with Justin, we took a step back, but then we took giant steps forward because now we have Justin training hard. His body feels good. He's 40 years old. His body feels the best that he's felt. He's probably leaner than he's been in who knows how many years. And the guy every day is coming into the gym and as a professional, I'm saying to myself, Jesus, this is, I love this. He's pushing me now because I just see how much better he's getting day in and day out.
Yeah, it's cool to see, and it takes time to see it, but you get somebody in there, and at first they maybe don't care for the exercise you're giving them to get them moving better and get them doing things that they can't do. But then all of a sudden, it's like that exponential growth where, okay, now they can do it, and now you can move so much faster than if you would have started deadlifting right away, and where they couldn't do it and they can't get in the postures and stuff like that.
Sure.
I want to backtrack a little bit to something you said earlier about with some of these golf specific movements and like the golf grip handles and stuff. You said that in many cases that can actually make the person slower, and I think this is very important for the listeners to hear. Right. Can you explain how something like that can possibly make you slower when you swing with like a weighted club attached to the cables?
Yeah. It was like in the days of, you used to see a lot of baseball players in the batter circle, and all they'd be doing would be swinging weights. And in time, what would happen was because the body was getting used to swing. I mean, if you're using it just to initially get the body loose, that's fine. But if you're using that as a tool or a really, really heavy club to increase swing speed, it can actually hurt you because the body starts remembering, just to simplify this without getting too technical, the body starts remembering a slow, heavy swing. And when you grab your actual club and you swing it, it starts remembering how it was swinging that club with that was really heavy, which was technically slower. So I think they found out there, and I quote Greg Rose on there, I think, and this was from years ago, they found out that by swinging it, you were actually hurting the golfer, not helping him. So I think the formula that they use, and there's some different swing devices out there, some different, I think there's a super speed club right now that's pretty good. But I mean, you're looking at, I think, 10% lighter and heavier than your actual golf club. And so that's in grams. I mean, this is not, we're not looking at pounds here. I mean, you're looking at, if you're swinging a 73 gram shaft and you're saying, plus that's not including the weight of the head, and then you take 10% less of that, you're not looking at, much weight. It's almost not noticeable. But the idea is to kind of swing something like a tad bit heavier to kind of develop a little strength, and then swing something even lighter to get the body remembering learning how to swing even faster, and then going back. So there's different formulas, there's different methods, but the body's got to be able to support it. If the body's not strong enough and the body can't support all those swings on the golf course, it's just going to end up crapping out on you at a certain point. And I see this a lot with pros that might come in, and we might look at their swing, and their swings look exceptional. And I speak to them about their round, and they're like, what happens? Like, it's never the front nine, it's the back nine, or it's never the first 2 days, it's the third day. And, they just don't have, their system, not getting too technical, but their system just can't support all that volume, all those swings, all that time out on the course. I mean, golf's stressful. I mean, you're on the course 5 hours, you're walking around, you're under a lot of stress, a lot of these guys, and they're traveling, they're in different time zones, they're staying in different hotels, sleeping on different beds. These are all variables and factors that people don't look into. They're always trying to revert back to, well, what swing drill? Well, what exercise? Like, no, it's not always that. It could be the fact that you were just sitting on a plane for 6 hours and you're in a time zone that's 3 hours earlier and you're not sleeping as well. Like, don't always blame it on, what's not in my program or what's in my program. It could be just what's in your everyday life that's causing you to move like crap. And we see that with Wall Street people. We see this with the guy working down on Wall Street or in Midtown who comes in and he gets a good workout in and his body's feeling great. We're doing everything he needs to do, and then he goes to his desk and he sits there for 9 hours. Right. Like, all right, dude. Like, yeah, we spent 1 good hour, but you got to start removing things from your life that's causing you to not be able to swing the club. Like, we just activated your hips. We just had you in a great session. We finished, we started with our FMS corrective, and then we went into our jump throw carry, and then we worked on power and then strength, and then we finished with a metabolic circuit, and then you worked on your stretching, and you feel like $1 million. You just swung a club upstairs afterwards for 10 minutes, took some wedge swings, you got in a shower, you threw your suit on, you went off to work, you ate a meal, and you sat in a chair for 9 hours. I'm like, okay, dude, like, we got to start getting a little discipline at work. Well, what do you mean? Well, you're sitting too long. We need to start standing you a little bit more. We need you to move around a little bit more. Get one of these desks that rises and lowers. Try and now, like throughout the day, incrementally change whether you're standing and sitting. You start making adjustments like that, you're going to see a big, big improvement. You were just in a car ride the other day for 4 hours. Expect that to show up the next day. Like, you're going to feel different the next day. Don't blame it on, is it the routine? Is it no? It's you. People don't look at all these external things going on in their life that could be affecting them to swing a golf club poorly, or could be affecting them to just feel like garbage. And I think that comes down to the coach. The coach has got to do a better job in educating the individual, the client, on stresses. I speak about this so much. Every time I go on the TV or the radio or whatever it is, it's like, we don't pay enough attention to the nervous system. We don't pay enough attention to what's going on hormonally in an individual's body. If you are just completely taxed and you are just beat and exhausted, the body's going to fall apart. Again, people want to bring it back to the exercise. No, it could be the fact that they're getting 4 or 5 hours sleep a night. We need 7-8 hours sleep a night minimum. How many nights out are you drinking a week? Like, this all plays a role more importantly than anything, and I don't think we focus enough on it.
Yeah, this is the difference between, the professional golfer and the amateur golfer, even the very highest of level amateur golfers that have jobs, they have kids, they've got families. We were talking about your buddy Lance Glass, or talking with Lance a couple episodes ago, and I asked him, what's one of the biggest differences between the PGA guys and the high-level amateurs? And his answer actually really surprised me, and it speaks very much to what you just said about, taking away some of the bad things in your life, like posture and stuff like that. But Lance said, what's different is these guys walk 6 to 8 miles a day, whereas the average person is sitting at a desk or sitting in a car or whatnot. And he said just that change in their posture, their extension overall, is a huge, huge difference as far as their stamina, the way that they execute on the course, and just everything that they do in their life. And it's sometimes, like you said, it's not the workout. It's not the 2, maybe 3 hours a week that you come in and you spend with your trainer in the gym. Yes, great things are happening there, and you're learning a lot, and you're improving, you're building up your body and breaking down your muscle tissue and stuff like that. But it's also taking some responsibility of what's going on outside of those gym walls, outside of the practice range, all that stuff. So,
and now Lance dialed in on something. It's our exact thought process here. I know even in the city, you have a lot of these firms or these offices that actually have gyms. They have wellness centers in there. This is something that you're starting to see a lot of, which is fantastic. I try and get my clients midday around lunch. I'm like, listen, do me a favor. Order lunch, run down to the gym, throw in a pair of shorts, walk on an incline for 15, 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. They're like, what? I'm like, walk on an incline for 15, 20 minutes. It's going to spark everything up. We'll get our hips, glutes and hips moving. We'll get our metabolism firing a little bit. Go jump in a shower, work up a light sweat, go upstairs, have your food, and go out through your day and tell me how you feel. And within days, they're like, oh my God, like my hips don't hurt as much. My glutes don't hurt as much. But these are the same guys who are sitting all week, who go out on the golf course, and then they come in and they might complain, oh, well, I had a good round. I had a bad round. I'm like, what do you expect? Like, you're sitting all day. If you take your hand and you put it in a cast all week long and then take your hand out of that cast on the weekend and expect it to move, it ain't going to move like your other hand. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
This is exactly what everyone is doing by sitting all day. It is the enemy. You are sitting in a chair. Your glutes are slowly dying. I don't mean to break that to everyone, but they're dying. Your hip flexors are shortening and tightening, and then you're standing up and expecting your lower body to fire in this ballistic, golf's a ballistic movement. I mean, you're expecting everything to fire ballistically and with speed. It's not going to happen. And this is the one thing I take. For those of you listening to this, take this from here today. You sit all day, then you go on the course and you expect to get your glutes and hips moving with speed. It ain't going to happen. Or it ain't going to happen to the best of your ability. Or if it is happening, it could be happening a hell of a lot better. So I think Lance Gill dialed in on it. If you are sitting a lot, sit less. How much less? I don't know. Whatever. Like, just sit less. Like, I don't care if you set a stopwatch and it'll go off every hour, and you're standing up and you walk around for 15 minutes. That will go a long way. Like, set some type of daily goal where maybe every 30 minutes an alarm's going off, and you're going to stand and work at your desk standing for 15 minutes. These things will go further than you have no idea.
Yeah, I love the idea of the standing desk for people just to get them out of that position. All right, I want to talk a little bit more about speed and power because we just told a lot of these people that what they're doing is wrong. Swinging these weighted clubs or grabbing the cables and doing their rotations. So give us an idea of some of the techniques that you guys use. And I'm talking for the amateur golfer. What do you guys do in your sessions to build power and speed? So some of the people listening I know that when I have a client in the gym and we start working on some speed and power type stuff, and I'm giving them rest breaks and things like that, they're like, what? Shouldn't we be doing like high intensity circuit training type stuff? So please enlighten us.
Yeah. I'm gonna probably they're gonna make it. I'm gonna agree with you right now on a lot of what you just said. I mean, you need rest intervals in between sets so we can repeat and come back with speed. And some of the techniques that we use for it. I mean, first off, when we bring an individual in, we've got to assess and see how they're moving. And if they're able now, if they come in. if we grade them during their screening the way that there's a certain parameter that we have to grade them, and once we grade them, if we have the thumbs up, then we're able to go in and maybe get them into some med ball power work, or maybe getting them into some forms of jumping, whether it's laterally or linearly or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, we will normally start with some jumping. And some throwing at the very least. This is after we get the thumbs up that they can move properly. And then in time, I mean, when you get someone moving good enough or well enough, you start getting them into Olympic lifting progressions. We had a guy by the name of Rob Yang, who's a TPI guy. He's one of my closest friends, and I'm contradicting what I said earlier. He's one of the few guys I know in the industry that actually, has two different professions of being a power coach and a nutritionist, which are, kind of similar, but very, very different. And he's phenomenal at both. So, he's come up here and done nutrition courses, but he's come up here as well and he's done power courses. And there are progressions that you could start with. Like, you're not going to turn around getting someone doing, deep barbell snatches on the first day. No, you might get them into some power pulls or something with the barbell off a technique tray. Something that it's a progression. We start them easy. We work on 2 reps, 3 reps, just where they can incorporate some speed. There's an adaptation phase where their body's got to get adjusted to moving fast. I know with my training personally, for a while I stayed away from a lot of the power stuff because I was going more for hypertrophy and strength, and I just got back to all the power stuff, and my body feels slow, and that's fine. I knew it was going to happen. I was accepting of it, but I'm someone who works out 6 days a week. So if I could feel a difference, and I'm not sitting all day, could you imagine how the average New Yorker is going to feel when they come into us? So I think it really comes down to good coaching. I think it really comes down to monitoring who you're dealing with, what the stresses are in their life, what they're coming to you with on day one. And then you got to turn around and say, all right, how do we get them moving so we can eventually get them into this?
Absolutely. And I love the fact that, you talked about your own personal experience and how you had a goal of hypertrophy, then you had a goal of power, and we talk a lot on the show here about you got to kind of figure out what it is that you're working on, or that might be your coach's job. Figure out what direction you're going in, and much like you said in your profession, you can't have all these different hats and juggle all these balls at the same time. Same in your training program. You got to kind of figure out what's going to benefit me most at this point in time, and that's the direction you can go. And yes, you can do some other little things here and there, but you can't, it's like the people trying to go on a fat loss program, but they also want to get jacked at the same time. We know that it just doesn't happen that way, unfortunately, for all of us. But I think that's very important to mention. All right, Don, I have a few things that I want to ask you, just kind of a little rapid fire at the end here so the listeners can get to know you a little bit better before we wrap things up, if that's cool with you.
Oh, perfect.
All right. One thing that I like to ask a lot of our guests here is, you're seen as, the golf fitness guy, the celebrity trainer. I know you've done some photo shoots and things like that. So obviously you're in shape. You know what's going on with your strength and fitness training. What is it that you struggle with, though, in those realms? Because we all have our own struggles, no matter who we are. And I think it's important for the listeners to know that people like you and I that are on this platform of fitness, we have our struggles too.
Right. I think this is probably not what most people are going to hear, but I think with me personally is sometimes I'll end up doing too much because I truly love to train and it's part of my survival. And I know business is such a big part of my life, and my day starts really early, and the sleep and rest portion isn't a problem. I mean, if I'm in bed at 9 and I'm up at 4:30, I'm getting roughly enough sleep. But I think what I struggle with is, I just love to train. I just love to do it. So it's something where at times in the past I might have needed to take days off, or maybe sometimes I'm really having a good time in a program and really enjoying it, and it might take me a few too many weeks to kind of cycle off that program and pivot and go into something else that my body needs. But I always end up doing it. I mean, in a nutshell, from a training standpoint, I mean, I've been doing this professionally 15 years, probably training seriously in the gym maybe closer to 20. I've been an athlete since I'm 5. So, and when it comes down to me, having to work on stuff, I always have to work on stuff. I mean, what might be a great program for me right now might not be great for me in 3-4 months. So, I think it's just sometimes personally it's the do as I say, not as I do.
Right.
Because I just what makes me feel good.
All right. This kind of speaks very much to the golfish conversation we had earlier. But
Sure.
What is the craziest or most useless exercise you've seen a golfer do in the gym that you just kind of shake your head at?
I cannot stand when I see people standing on Swiss balls. So when I see them kneeling the kneeling I don't mind as much. When I see guys trying to stand on Swiss balls and squat on Swiss balls, or when I see them, standing on these Bosu balls and they're performing these ridiculous movements, and the reason is because I know for a fact that the guys I've seen or the women I've seen doing this can't perform a squat correctly. So why the hell are you going to turn around and put them on an unstable surface? How is it really going to standing on that unstable surface? And I know Charlie Weingroff, if I had him right next to me right now, he'll have the same argument. Is it really worth the risk reward? I mean, is it really giving you a reward? Are you really getting that much better at it? Or are you better off just us working on flexibility with our flexibility and us just getting you crazy strong during a lift like a squat or a deadlift? Like I just, that stuff just bothers me. And it's the way of these coaches and trainers trying to bring things to the table that are sexy. And it's just so annoying. I mean, it's just a constant. I mean, even this whole, and I'll go into it right now, this whole CrossFit craze, like they basically caused us to excel our business, because I'm seeing more CrossFitters come into us that are just messed up. It's a perfect example of people who should not be performing certain lifts, period, and then they're trying to do it for time or for duration, whatever you want to call it. And at a certain point on an Olympic lift, I don't care how strong you are, your form's going to start going. And the average human being, not the elite, can't handle that. And that's why, honestly, I'd probably say 95. Actually, no, I'm lying. I've never met a CrossFitter in my life yet who is like, no, I'm pain free. My body feels great. It's always like, no, I feel like crap. Every 5 days, I'm exhausted. My elbow, my shoulder. I was just on with a person yesterday who lives in Texas, and he's like, CrossFit was great because it brought me back into this training world. But I just had to have shoulder surgery, and I'm like, is this really what we're trying to do? Like, is this really why? Because you're in the middle of a high intensity workout. Like, we can do a high intensity workout without doing movements that become offensive.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like a pull-up or a snatch or a jerk. These are great movements. They're not great for the majority of the people that are coming in. They need to be working on other things. And the fact that there's no type of progression put into these programs, these are the things. And golf pros are doing it. And it's causing them, if you take an Olympic lift and you're doing it, 1, 2, 3 times, fine. If you're on rep 16, 17, 18, it's going back to that exact example I gave with the heavy club. The body will get, and the guys training in the CrossFit games, they are not training CrossFit all week long. They're probably training more like me. And then they're able, these guys having, incredible strength and work capacity, and then they go in and they believe. These are guys competing in their sport, and I understand. Then the CrossFit game's fine. It's a sport. It's like golf. Is the golf swing the best thing for the body? No. Is the baseball swing the best thing for the body? Is hockey the best thing for the body? No. There's a cost to doing business. CrossFit is a sport, but when people are training like CrossFit every day, that I don't get it. Five days a week. It's just those are the things to me that are just really, really annoying.
Yeah, I'm with you there, and you guys heard it here first that. From Don Saladino, that get off the Swiss ball, get off the Bosu ball, and I will 100% back him on that. I actually had a client who came to me years ago, and the year prior to us getting together, she broke both of her wrists because her trainer had her, throwing a medicine ball while standing on a Bosu ball, and it's just the risk is not anywhere near the reward out of those exercises. All right, next question: Caddyshack or Happy Gilmore?
Caddyshack.
All right. And last one, the whole mentality here of 18 Strong is, to basically bring in the best of the best as far as trainers, mental coaches, swing coaches, and kind of get the audience exposed to those people. But the term 18 Strong, to me, kind of speaks about the golfer and their mentality and their ability to perform on the course. I always like to get the guests' definition, your personal definition of what you think when you hear the term 18 Strong.
18 Strong, I think it's a great name. I mean, I think it's not going out, it's not playing 16 strong holes. It's going out and finishing strong through 18. It's about preparing your body and your mind to be able to go out and withstand the rigors of 18 holes. There's a lot that goes on within 4 to 5 hours on that golf course, and it's not just dictated by your fitness. It's dictated by your nutrition. It's dictated by your rest and recovery. It's dictated by your mental state. So there's a lot of different factors and a lot of different variables that have to go into this. And not to one really quick story, because this will be interesting. A tour player, before he made the tour years ago, major winner, not mentioning his name, called me up and was like, you know what, at the 16th hole, I'm like sweating. I'm shaking and sweating. And I'm like, well, are you nervous? No, I'm not nervous. Well, let's go through your diet. So he goes through his diet. It just ended up that he was having a breakfast that he thought was healthy. He wasn't really eating anything on the front 9. And by the time he got to the back 9, he'd start eating the right foods. But it was too late. It was too late, because by the time he ate breakfast, got down to the range, hit balls, checked in, did all of his stuff, it was already 2 to 3 hours later. And then by the time he got to the halfway house or that halfway mark where he thought eating was the right time, it was too late. So what did we do? We ended up adding in some good nutrition early on in his round. We ended up, every 2-3 holes having consuming something, and he made the tour like 5-6 months later. And he ended up winning a major down the road. So can't mention his name, but it's just the example that here's a guy who thought he was doing everything right from a practice standpoint, from a training standpoint, but his nutrition wasn't right. And as soon as he got that dialed in, he called me about a week later and he's like, I got it. I feel great. It was my blood sugar. It was off. And I'm like, this stuff isn't rocket science. This is about, you got to eat good quality foods out there. There's not a bar. We need to bring food out on the course. So 18 strong to me means all that.
Yeah, it's just sometimes about the simple decisions that we make and putting in a good plan. All right, Don, I know that you've got a ton of stuff going on. You've got Drive 495. You do a lot of work with Revolution Golf. 2015, what has you excited for everything that you've got going on?
My business, my brother and I are, we can't discuss it, but we have some, scalable plans set up with Drive 495. I've got a couple of companies that I've been negotiating some deals with that would love it to happen, would love things to work out with, and if it does, great. If not, I've learned in life that you're on to the next. But a lot of great opportunities, a lot of exciting stuff, and I think you're going to see our names on the map much more visibly, with this new year that just started.
Awesome. And do you have one last piece of advice for the audience, and then tell them where they can find you?
Absolutely. You can translate this any way that you want, but take some risks, take some chances. If it's get out of your comfort zone a little bit. If it's something that you think you can't do, give it a shot. Don't think that you have to do it 7 days a week. Set up a good plan and go after it. And if you don't succeed, you at least gave it a shot. One thing about me is that I'm always reachable. I mean, the Rev Golf, members are always reaching out to me with questions. I always get back to them via email. I'm on Instagram at Don Saladino. I'm on Twitter at Don Saladino. I got a Facebook page. I can be reached at Drive 495 in New York City. You can always call the reception. They'll hook you up with my email. I'm very easy to get a hold of.
Awesome, man. And the audience knows that they'll have everything linked up in the show notes for you, or for them to go find you and get in touch with you. Don, I can't thank you enough. I know you've got things to do today, so we're going to shut it off. And you guys can catch up. Follow Don on Twitter. Like I said, we'll have everything linked up. So Don, thanks for coming on, man.
Jeff, it's been an honor and a pleasure, and I can't thank you enough, man. And best of luck. You're killing it. Keep doing what you're doing.
You bet, man. I appreciate it.
All right, take care.
I hope you guys enjoyed that interview with Don. It's really cool to catch up with somebody like him who's doing so much in the industry, working so hard, and has a passion for what he's doing, and is reaping the benefits and seeing the opportunities come his way. So, Don, congratulations. And again, thanks for coming on the podcast. I know the audience will get a ton of great information out of this episode. For all of you other listeners, make sure that for more information after the show, you head over to 18strong.com. You can find all the show notes there. Just search for Don's name or search for episode number 30. And of course, while you're over there, don't forget to pick up your free copy of 5 Yards in Less Than 5 Minutes, the free ebook gift that I have for you waiting over there. And please, if you have an extra second or two, head over to iTunes and give our show an honest 5-star rating and review to let everybody know how awesome this show is. And I read all the reviews, all the comments every single week. So please let me know what you think. Honestly, let me know, what questions you want to ask, what guests you want on, so we can make this the best show that's out there. And I promise to continue to bring the heat with different and incredible guests that will possibly transform both your golf game and who knows, maybe even transform your life in some way, shape, or form. So thanks again for hanging out. And as always, train hard, practice smart, and play better golf.
Thanks for listening to the 18 Strong Podcast at www.18strong.com. And remember, train hard, practice smart, and play better golf.
What's the deal? Is that what you guys are known for?
St. Louis, actually, we're known for our first Budweiser beer, number one. And then toasted ravioli and gooey butter cake. All
gooey butter cake.
Dude, you got...
Doesn't sound like I need to be going near that.
No, you really... All three of those things are not on the Don Saladino diet. That's for sure.
If you're going to do it, though, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it all at once.